Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. I've been a lover of healing and support classes in video games for as long as I can remember, and in Guild Wars 2, I was such a dedicated support player that I leveled up my Guardian by playing a healing build. Yeah, it took a very long time, but hell, I did it! So when it comes to coaching for healing and support, I think I have some chops at least. In this video, I will go over the various types of healing that you can perform in Guild Wars 2, and pepper in some tips for each. First up, let's dive into the types of support players can build. Healing, good old healing. This is the most straightforward method of aiding your allies. Players will take damage, and you will heal up their missing health, allowing them to take more hits and bounce back from near-death scenarios. Every player will have access to their personal healing skill, the 6th skill, but there are a multitude of other spells and abilities that heal other allies. Barrier. Barrier was introduced in Guild Wars 2's second expansion, and is the game's mechanic of shielding allies, or in other terms, providing them over health. Barrier will first receive the damage from enemy blows, and once it is depleted or runs out, the player's health will then be vulnerable to damage. Barrier can be applied equal to 50% of the player's total health. So, for example, if you have 10,000 health, the barrier can only reach 5,000 health. Barrier will also last for 5 seconds before immediately dissipating, requiring proper timing and upkeep if one wishes to have rolling barriers. Boons are the non-profession specific buffing system of the game. I am slotting boons into this video as, while some of these are not directly healing related, they are a very important mechanic when discussing support in this game. One boon can provide trustworthy healing over time, however. This boon in reference being regeneration. Regeneration, or regen for short, can be a solid boon to have rolling throughout a fight, as with the proper levels of healing power, it can pulse from anywhere between 400 to 500 health over its duration. Though, be advised, this boon can be a little tricky, as it only will heal from the person with the highest healing power amount, who applied the regeneration. So, if 5 people apply regen to a target, only one of them will see their healing actually being applied. Other important defensive boons include stability, resolution, protection, aegis, swiftness, and arguably alacrity. Alacrity, it's kind of both defensive and offensive. Now that we've discussed the various paths players may go down when they want to play support, let us talk about the ways in which these effects are applied to allies, and some tips on how to achieve them. Let us start small and grow out from there. First up is the brand spanking new mechanic introduced in the End of Dragons expansion, single target, or as it's referred to in-game, ally target skills. Never before have healers and support players been able to target an ally to cast abilities on them, and them alone. But now a new era of combat has entered the scene. At the time of this video, only the Spectre, the Thief's elite spec, has access to ally targeting skills, but I'm sure that we will see more of these skills come in future balance patches. These abilities are straightforward, and if you've played other MMOs or RPGs, you most likely have seen them. Simply target an ally that is in range and activate your abilities on them. Though, because Guild Wars 2's combat is so dynamic, ally target skills are not just a mindless activity. Players will still have to rely on positioning to land projectile-based ally target skills, and look out for environmental obstacles or projectile destruction skills. Here are a few tips. Since we're on the topic of ally target skills, let me provide a few tips to make your gameplay a bit smoother. When taking skills that focus on ally targeting, it is important to head to the options and down to the section of control options. Scrolling down to the targeting section, you will see a panel of different hotkeys you can create for different targeting needs. For this video, let's stick to the allied target options. I recommend setting 2 hotkeys, one for nearest ally and one for next ally. Nearest will select the closest ally to you, and next will cycle through a bit more loosely. As I play in action camera mode most of the time, I have also noticed that nearest ally will prioritize the ally closest to your reticle, and not necessarily the one closest to your character when you are in action combat mode. Speaking of action camera mode, towards the bottom of the targeting section, you will see ally targeting mode. Be sure to set up a keybind for this as well, as when you have this toggled, you will be unable to target enemies and the game will only allow you to target allies. This can really help out when fighting many enemies, but you are trying to click on a specific ally in the mix of it. This will make sure that you don't get caught up, continually selecting and targeting enemies. Touching on party frames, be sure to adjust to clicking on party frames as you see fit. Spending my time in action camera has made it a bit harder for myself to adjust, but I am. Slowly. Very slowly. But hey, I'm getting there. It's a work in progress. You can also adjust the sizing and thickness of health bars floating above allies in the General Option tab under User Interface. For the next method and vehicle of providing support, we have pickups. Pickups are a smaller aspect of support in Guild Wars 2, but you may come across them every so often. This method of delivering support is when a player leaves a stationary effect on the ground, and it is the player's job to run over them to gain their beneficial effects. These pickups can provide flat healing, barrier, or even apply boons. Some class abilities that use pickup mechanics would be Revenant Mist Orbs, Dragon Hunter Aegis Shards, and Scourge Serpent Siphon Orbs. I actually enjoy the idea of pickup skills and hope to see more of them make their way in the game. Over time, of course. Area of Effect. And now we have come to the most common method and oftentimes easiest way of supporting allies, the Area of Effect method. Since Guild Wars 2 never played with ally targeting skills until now, most, if not all, supportive skills have been AoE based. Simply pick a location and cast your ability for instant heals, barrier, or boons. Some abilities don't even require targeting, they just require the player to be around their allies in a radius where the skill will land. Now, while most Area of Effect skills are fairly easy to pull off, there are a few which must be ground targeted and have a small radius or a very thin road. These types of abilities are often harder to hit and require masterful timing and positioning. So while it is often an easier time, there are some cases where it is more challenging than expected. For some tips in this department, in the case of ground target skills, I highly recommend going to the options and ticking the box Lock Ground Target at Maximum Skill Range under the Combat/Movement section of General Options. I recommend this not only for supports, but honestly, for everyone. Truthfully, I don't know why this is not the default option. It's a great box to tick. And that's about everything on how to play a healer/support player, what the different forms of gameplay are, and how you can deliver your allies from death. As a few final notes to keep in mind, everyone can participate in resurrecting, and some builds, such as those on the Necromancers, often excel at resurrecting downed allies. Additionally, most abilities are limited to 5 targets, so be mindful of your party composition in squads. As for ally targeting, I am extremely happy to see it in-game finally, though I will say I hope that they continue to improve upon the targeting system via the hotkeys. I have noticed that at times when I'm using the next ally target hotkey, it will often pick up minis, clones, minions, pets, NPCs, and even dead allies. Many of these I do not need to see when playing a healer in Guild Wars 2. Especially minis. So there are a couple quirks here and there, and even further UI adjustments would be lovely to see in Guild Wars 2. But most importantly, I would say have fun while playing support builds. They can be very rewarding when you master your favorite builds. Thank you all so much for watching. If you'd like to support the channel more directly, I have a Patreon where you get early access to all of these videos. If you're interested in purchasing Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons, I have links below where you get access to the new single target healing elite spec, the Spectre. And if you're interested in VPN services, ExpressVPN links are in the description as well. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Take care, everyone. Mwah.